Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Chat Cyber. And we always appreciate your time, appreciate you guys joining in with us. This week we got to talk to a great friend of the center, Dr. James Welsh. He's the director over at FCIT. We talked a little bit about how they work with Cyber Florida and the projects that we've done together, and he paid specific attention to our last event, CyberLaunch, that we did with those guys. Very impactful event for high school kids that we hosted over in Orlando. It's always one of the center's favorite events every year. So I'm going to toss it over to Jordan to get into a little bit about Dr. Welsh's background and his resume.
Great. So Dr. James Welsh is the director of the Florida Center for Instructional Technology, or FCIT. James teaches classroom technology integration to undergraduate and graduate students at the University of South Florida and professional development courses to educators through USF's I Teach professional learning program. James is the project leader for the Technology Integration Matrix evaluation tools and has worked on many statewide projects at FCIT over the past 17 years. He co-founded the Tampa Theater Film Camp, a digital filmmaking summer camp now in its 16th year, and USF cybersecurity summer camps for teachers and students. His research interests include evaluation of educational technology, critical media literacy, student creation of multimedia texts, and the role of genre in student composition. James has published in Teacher Education Quarterly, Journal of Reading Education, Qualitative Studies in Education, International Journal of Multicultural Education, and the International Journal of Learning, as well as book chapters and articles addressing technology and student composition. James has presented at numerous regional and national conferences, including the International Literacy Association, the American Educational Research Association, the College Reading Association, the American Reading Forum, the Association of Teacher Educators, International Society for Technology and Education, and the Literacy Research Association. So we were incredibly happy to have Dr. Welsh on with us. He's been an awesome friend of the center. And I think we can just jump right into it.
Sounds great. You guys are going to enjoy this one. We really do appreciate Dr. Welsh. As you can tell from that mouthful Jordan just spit out for us, very accomplished. I can't say enough good things about this guy. He's absolutely brilliant. Jordan, let's get into it.
Welcome to Chat Cyber, a podcast on all things cyber policy, where we explore key issues and discuss policy strategies with industry experts.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. As we said in the intro, we're very excited to be joined today by the University of South Florida's own Dr. Welch, the good Dr. Welch, great friend of the center. He didn't pay me to say that, believe it or not, but we're always excited when he comes on. This guy has incredible passion for teachers, incredible passion for students, and we're very, very excited to have him.
Dr. Welsh, can you tell us a little bit about the Florida Center for Instructional Technology and how you all were created and also how you interact with Cyber Florida?
Sure. The Florida Center for Instructional Technology was created many years ago in the early 1980s by the Florida legislature. At the time, they created technology centers at all of the state universities, and each one had a slightly different focus and a different area that they were working on. FCIT, as it's called now, started as the Florida Center for Instructional Computing back then in the early 80s. And most of those centers, they focused on the mission that they were given, and they used responsibly the money that was given to them by the legislature. FCIT did that as well. But in addition to that, the early...
Important caveat.
Yeah, right. Important caveat. They all follow the rules. No, we did too. But I mean, I wasn't there, but the early leadership of FCIT really took a very entrepreneurial approach. Focusing on what was needed in schools, in school districts, and how they could help. And so because of that very outward focused approach, that very problem-solving approach, they did a lot of outside engagement. They wrote a lot of grants for the state of Florida, federal grants as well, and they worked a lot on contracts with ed tech companies, but also with school districts, providing professional development, doing all kinds of work. So they worked within the university, within the community, across the state, and really took the mission broadly. And that meant that a few years after that, when funding was cut for all of those centers, most of those centers disappeared overnight. A few of them stayed around. FCIT was one because of its outward-facing approach. So like that that is a legacy that was handed down to me as the director of FCIT, to always be thinking about broadly about the problems that we're trying to solve, the ways in which we can help. What resources do we have? What resources can we bring to bear on different questions or problems in instruction and instructional technology? What opportunities are out there? We're always very outward focused. Over many decades since then, FCIT has changed quite a bit. Like, the focus changes based on what the needs are in education, and honestly, what the research is telling us, but also what the funding streams are like. So when priorities are set either by the state or by the federal government, saying, we're looking for this kind of work, this is what's important, we're ready to do that work. So the shape of the center and what the center does, the kind of work the center does, has changed. That is the consistent thing about FCIT, is it has consistently changed to adapt to service the needs of education for all those years.
Dr. Welsh, we've come to work so closely together that sometimes I forget that we aren't one big center. That's how closely you guys work with Cyber Florida. Can you, just for the audience, can you share with them a little bit more about what that looks like, how you've engaged with Cyber Florida, the work we've done together? Maybe you talk a little bit about Operation K-12. That'd be great.
Yeah, Cyber Florida is wonderful. And from the early days of Cyber Florida, we started doing work for the Florida Center for Cybersecurity on specific projects. And so they would come to us and say, we need this curriculum developed, or we need this professional development delivered. And they would we would contract with them to do that work on an individual basis, individual projects. Those went well. We developed a good relationship with Cyber Florida because of that. But what we proposed at one point, we were doing so many projects. What we proposed at one point was, why don't we take this to another level? Like, why don't we have, because one of the drawbacks of that sort of almost doing it as grant work, single projects, is that you have to spin up a staff and a whole working routine around each of those projects, and then spin it down, and then spin up for the next one. And it's more efficient. And frankly, cybersecurity is the landscape of cybersecurity changes so quickly. It's better for everybody, and we can be more effective with a consistent funding approach and a consistent mission space, so that we can take advantage of opportunities and work on solving problems that we didn't necessarily know were going to be exactly what we were working on at any given point. So it was 2020 that we proposed to Cyber Florida that we have sort of an ongoing annual relationship to create what is Operation K-12. So we are the K-12 piece of Cyber Florida. And I love that you forget that we're not in the same center. That's the goal. Like, we are, part of the team at Cyber. We feel welcome. We feel part of the team at Cyber Florida.
And it's been incredibly powerful for us. We've shared with the audience how diverse Cyber Florida's mission is. But one piece of that is the workforce development piece, and you can't tackle it without addressing the K-12 component. Yeah. And you guys have been so instrumental in doing that.
It's honestly, like, really important for me, kind of flipping it around, the meetings that I participate in at Cyber Florida, where I get briefings on all of the other projects, all of the many different projects that Cyber Florida is working on, all of the different sort of problem spaces that Cyber Florida is engaged in addressing these issues. That's so informative for me, and it's really helpful. That's, again, one of the benefits of our close collaboration is somebody's working on a problem in, let's say, critical infrastructure, or in workforce education. I can look at the resources that they're applying and the strategies that they're using, and I can adapt that. I can go back to my K-12 team and adapt that that and talk about like how we might be able to use those same strategies or those same resources to address K-12, and also how we can collaborate, how we can contribute to that mission. There's a K-12 component to so many of these things. And one way to look at the work we do in K-12, one lens to use there is to say that it is long-term workforce development. You're looking at the workforce. Yeah, like we're 10 years out, 15 years out, and that kind of time passes in the blink of an eye. And we need a workforce that is ready to adapt and step up to those new cybersecurity challenges.
I want to get Jordan in here, but I do have one quick follow-up question, Jordan, if you don't mind. So Dr. Welsh, there's the student piece, which I think is evident. But can you talk a little bit more about what you guys do for the teachers in those classrooms?
Yeah. And I want to specifically call out my colleagues, Dr. Candy Ring and Mr. Jeremy Monette, who are amazing and work directly with all of the different constituents. One of the things that we do, so cybersecurity education in Florida is primarily focused on high school courses that are part of the career and technical education umbrella, and those don't exist in every district in Florida. They don't exist in every high school. And if you want to start a cybersecurity program in career and technical education, there's a lot you need to know about how to staff it, how to fund it, how to recruit students into it. And getting all of those plates spinning at the same time can be very challenging. As we know, in education, there are challenges coming from every direction. So, getting somebody's attention on K-12, on cybersecurity in K-12 is a challenge, and trying to figure out how to tie all those resources together. And so a primary focus of the outreach work that Candy and Jeremy do every day is to have conversations with classroom teachers, with career and technical education supervisors, with principals, with assistant principals, with superintendents, assistant superintendents who are looking to bring this kind of cybersecurity education into their space, and showing them how, really taking them by the hand and saying, you can do this. I can help you figure out what curriculum to use. I can help you with resources from Cyber Florida about how you can implement this in your classroom. And they really do amazing work. Candy started off at Cyber Florida, in-house at Cyber Florida, and then transitioned over to the FCIT side of the house when we started Operation K-12. And that's another reason why it feels like we're one team, because we're family. Yeah. But like, she was doing that work way back, and that's part of the beauty of the collaboration too. Instead of Candy being the one person within a larger organization that's focused on K-12, she's part of a team that's focused on K-12. And we at FCIT, the rest of our team, we focus outside of the Operation K-12 work specifically, we focus on all kinds of youth engagement at the university, on all campuses, in all colleges, creating youth programming and youth experiences at USF that engage you. So Candy and Jeremy are part of that whole team with all of our resources, and get to participate in that. But Candy really laid a foundation with relationships with districts. There's about 70 school districts in Florida. Candy's talked to every single one of them, she's known and loved across the state.
She is, yes. No, you have an awesome team over there. So on the topic of initiatives, K-12 initiatives, we had our largest event, if I'm not mistaken, our second year in a row, CyberLaunch. We just hosted that at the beginning of April. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about CyberLaunch. What is it? How did it go this year? How fun it was?
Yeah. CyberLaunch was great, and I think I think we've talked about future episodes of the podcast, talking to Jeremy, talking to Candy directly, and they have it's interesting. Like, we all have our areas that we talk about. So you could talk to the three of us about Operation K-12 and about the cybersecurity work that we do, and you'll get different takes, not different information. Like we're all there's one set of facts, but like you get different takes on it. Anyway, I encourage you to talk to them about CyberLaunch as well. Largest high school cybersecurity competition that we are aware of. We believe it's the largest in the nation. It was around 1,000 high school students from all across Florida, from large districts, large schools, small schools, rural areas, coming together for this day-long cybersecurity competition. That gives us also a large collection of about 100 cybersecurity teachers from across Florida. Mm-hmm. So at the same time, we had the large ballroom at the hotel that we were at in Orlando for the high school cybersecurity competition. At the same time, down the hall, we had professional development running for the 100 or so cybersecurity teachers from all across Florida. That is core to the work that we do throughout the year with Operation K-12, is helping connect a cybersecurity teacher in a district in the Panhandle who may be the only cybersecurity teacher in their district with other people who are doing the same work in other parts of the state. Those kinds of professional connections between teachers, between principals, between district staff, those are so critical in growing cybersecurity education across Florida. That person now has somebody that they can send a text to and say, hey, how are you solving this problem? Or what curriculum are you using here? Or things like that. Those professional connections, the informal conversations happen always. So important. But we were just so lucky, so blessed to be supported by businesses in the cybersecurity education space, and of course, or the cybersecurity space broadly, but also Cyber Florida. Just amazing. Like everybody at Cyber Florida, rolls up their sleeves and really works on that giant event from all across the state.
It's not a hard one to get people to volunteer for. It's always a lot of fun. Dr. Welsh, several members of our audience are policymakers or work for policymakers, and we've been asked this question when we've been in Tallahassee, and I think it's worth reiterating. Another cool thing about this event is we, Cyber Florida, have removed every barrier that could possibly be in the way for a school district to attend. Frankly, at this point, if school districts aren't attending, it's probably because they don't have a program to attend.
Yeah.
But we pay for the teachers and students. They pay for their transportation. We pay for them a place to stay. We pay for all the food. We make sure that everybody that wanted to have the opportunity to go could come. And one of the things that makes it so exciting and fun, I enjoy it as an adult that's been to more than my fair share of these. So I can only imagine how exciting it is for a high school kid. But we treat it like a real professional conference that you would go to as a professional. It's a very nice hotel in Florida. It's laid out in a conference format. And remarkably, to this date, we've had no behavior issues out of any of the kids or anything. They take it very seriously, and we're 2 years in, and it's been an incredible event.
Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's built on the work, as I say, that Candy's been doing for years with those direct connections, mm-hmm. and that our whole team is doing. It's built on that, on the back of that work, where those relationships are what get those people on the phone and get those people on the buses to get them there. And Cyber Florida has done an amazing job of supporting in every way possible and removing any barriers. But then it also drives that work. There's this nice virtuous cycle that happens there, where it then helps drive the conversations with teachers and districts, where we can say, how to envision an entire cybersecurity program is complex and difficult, can be complex and difficult. If you're considering one, please don't think of it as complex and difficult. We will help you. But a bite-sized piece of that.
If you go it alone, it's complex.
Right. If you go it alone, if you are a lone voice in the wilderness, it is difficult. But you are not. You are you are supported. But making it a specific question of, is your district participating in CyberLaunch? That's a great opener, and it lets you have a conversation about, what are the prerequisites? What do we have to? How big does our program have to be? Things like that. And for the past 2 years that we've been doing CyberLaunch, like it come as you are. Any cybersecurity students, any cybersecurity teacher is going to benefit from participating, and they're going to go away with ideas for how to enrich and expand cybersecurity education back in their schools. So the barrier to entry is nil, and it gives them a first step. It makes a bunch of connections, gets them excited about going forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. So being a policy podcast, our primary, our targeted audience are policymakers or their staffers, because we want to give them as much information as possible to help create, effective policies. So they have put in a lot of money and a lot of effort into cybersecurity, workforce development, that type of thing. Where are you seeing more resources potentially needed for K-12 when it comes to cybersecurity, workforce development, awareness, teacher development, that type of thing?
Yep. Yeah, one of the things about what we've talked about so far, it's all been focused on career and technical education. And that's good and necessary. That is really focused on getting more people into the career paths, making those connections for them. But cybersecurity awareness and cybersecurity safety is important across the board, and it integrates into lots of different subject areas. That's a tougher nut to crack. Trying to integrate the kind of information that is important for anybody to live as a participating responsible citizen in the world in 2025, you need that across the board, and so there are many different ways you could do that, and there are different opinions about what's the best way to approach that, what grade level, how technical, when to engage, things like that.
But what's involved in curriculum? Should you involve in existing curriculum? Teachers already strained for time in the classroom.
Exactly. There are so many competing priorities. And I think in the history of education in the United States, probably the world, there's a tendency to try to solve every problem through K-12 because K-12 is present in every piece of the geography of our country. Mm-hmm. And so you go oh, there's a problem that we're trying to address across the board. Well, let's try to do it in the schools. And that's good. That gives us a lot of reach for a lot of the problems we're trying to solve. But sometimes it is too much of a strain on the education system to say you're now responsible for all of these other things in addition to education. So sorry, that's a little side tangent there. But we clearly need to address cybersecurity education across K-12, not just in high school, mostly high school, some middle school, career and technical education training. Everybody, regardless of what field they're going into, what career path might lay ahead, what further education might lay ahead, they need to know more about cybersecurity. That's not getting less important. That's getting only more important
by the day.
And especially with the advent of AI, that's a piece of it. That changes the conversation somewhat about cybersecurity. And it means more challenges, which is why I am so excited about the new Bellini College joining USF, about having a college that is focused on AI, cybersecurity, and computer science as pulling those disciplines together and really drawing attention to it. I think that's such an important development in the history of USF, but really, something unique that USF contributes to higher education in the state is to have that kind of focus. I'm really looking forward to the next 5 years at USF, what comes out of the Bellini College. and Cyber Florida. Like, that's part of why the Bellini College is so excited to have that. I'm so excited to have that at USF, is the Bellini College.
Yeah, we're so excited for the new resource, some of the applied research efforts that we're going to be able to engage in together. It's an exciting future for USF for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, Dr. Welsh, I want to thank you for being on today. As always, I really appreciate both personal connection and professional. And as if it's not clear to the audience, we think the world of you here and your team and the work that you do, and really excited that you were able to take a couple minutes with us.
I think the world of you guys. Like, you do awesome work. We are so lucky to have the kind of insight and perspective and guidance that you bring to the whole organization to focus on policy. I think policy work is foundational. Good policy doesn't always lead to good outcomes, but you can't get to the good outcomes without the good policy there as a foundation for it. It's how we envision and grow our future. So thank you for the work you do.
Thank you. We appreciate you joining us. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you for jumping into another episode and spending some time with us. Please remember to stick around. Jordan's Shameless Plug is next.
Welcome to Cyber Florida's Shameless Plug with Jordan.
Well, in today's episode, you learned all about the relationship between Cyber Florida and the Florida Center for Instructional Technology, and we shared a bit about our biggest K-12 event that we host each year, CyberLaunch. We wanted to share a few clips from CyberLaunch at the end of this episode so you could all hear the fun and excitement firsthand. We hope you enjoy.
All opinions expressed by the Chat Cyber podcast participants are their own and do not exclusively represent the views and opinions of Cyber Florida.